Welcome to Talk of the Toon, where we discuss all things Thorn Athletic. My name's Derrick McMillan, and we've got a special guest on today, and it's first team manager Johnny McEwan. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm bad, Derrick. Yourself?
Yes, good mate, good mate. Just in from work, you rushing about, usual stuff?
I've worked from home, mate, today, but still rushing a bit.
It's always the same, isn't it? Always the same. So
I know.
thanks for coming on, mate. We've been, obviously this is our 6th podcast now, so thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll get a good insight into what it takes to be the manager of the Thorns. So first question I ask everyone, Johnny, is how did you get involved with football back in the day? What took your interest? I take it you were young, and was it your family that got you involved?
Well, I've always kind of, as you know, kicked about the Speightstown Park playing amongst my pals to start with, but probably getting into like football team side of it was probably my cousin, Robert, taking me down to, it was actually McMaster Centre. He was playing me at St Margaret's at the time. I think a few folk have been on talking about St Margaret's before.
Yeah, me and Jason with them, I'm sure.
Aye, but he played a few years above me, so I went down to kind of join in training, but at that stage they didn't have all the different youth levels and the kind of pathway and ladders, all these different age groups, so I was still too young. I think I was maybe about 8 or 9 at the time. I think it was maybe started at under 12s sort of thing. So I was down there, they didn't have a kind of age group for us, so I started training over at the old Limwood Sports Complex.
Right,
Used to be Big Dale Anderson.
Oh, aye.
Ex-Kilmarnock player. So he used to do like kind of coaching sessions, but it was, you would have about 40 boys on the one. A tough part. It was just a free-for-all, to be honest. And it could be any, I think the age groups kind of ran for anything for like 8-year-old up to 15 at the time, and then they started kind of divvying it up. And then they eventually found us a coach for St Margaret's at our age group, because they gathered a bit of interest with boys in the local area. So that was my starting point, was St Margaret's. I think maybe under 10s was maybe the age group we started off at.
Aye, good. So who's your coach back in St Margaret's? Who started it off, Johnny?
I had a couple. It was actually old Jackie Lachlan.
Aye, yeah, of course.
We took the team for a bit. Then it split into 2 teams. I had Stuart McKnight, Stephen's uncle.
Right, well, good.
He taken a team for a bit as well. My dad always helped out as well. But with a couple of coaches, a lot of guys coming and going. But no, we had a lot of good players back then. We actually look at, my mum was actually clearing out the loft during lockdown. Some of the photos she passed me down. It was actually in the McMaster Sports Centre at the time. It doesn't even look like it's changed much.
No, the thing is, obviously we've done a few podcasts, and everyone started at St Margaret's. Everyone started at the McMaster Sports Centre. People are going to be listening to this thinking there's only one place in the town, but it really is a hub for the Johnston youth, in it. It really is.
It was, mate. There wasn't, when you think about it back, fucking saying it as if it was back in the old days, but there wasn't many Johnston teams, or even kind of local teams.
No.
Or had many age groups. You were having to jump and play a couple of years above yourself if you were good enough, or else you were having to kind of wait until you got to a certain age group with a certain amount of boys.
We were the same. I was 6 playing for the under 10s team, and it was just like the ball was up at your knees and all of that. They don't have what they have now, and you can play 4.
And it was 11's goals.
Aye, but some of it was shocking. I remember we won 38-0 once, and I never scored, which was a bit embarrassing. Even Hender got a hat trick. So when did you know? Did you get the bug straight away for football, Johnny? I take it as soon as you started kicking the ball about, that was you. You knew you were going to. That was you for life, pretty much.
Yeah, I always had the ball. But even when I was getting to school, I was always wanting to either go into the park or run about the car parks playing football. Just the only thing I wanted to do was just play football all the time, constantly.
So who did you play with after St Margaret's, Johnny? Did you stay there for a bit, or who did you move on to?
I was there probably a good 3 or 4 years. That way, because we started actually getting a half decent team and doing quite well. But I then went to, I think that kind of stagnated, like managers leave and then nobody takes all the group. I went to Elderslie Wallace.
Right.
Played with Elderslie Wallace for a good bit. That's where I met Liam McWilliams, was at Elderslie Wallace actually. He was the goalie there. a good few players there. We played there a good few years. And then moved on to Limwood Rangers. Played with Limwood Rangers for a big part of my kind of youth football. Done quite well there. Through that, get picked with playing with school teams, playing with select teams, playing with the West team, and then eventually I get a call up to the national team for a wee short spell.
Good. It's nice to see a boy from Spateston Park can go all the way to the youth national team, mate. Nice to see.
Yep, that's it.
So, in terms of your amateur career, where did you do? Elderslie you played for? Well, I remember playing against you a couple of times for Elderslie.
Amateurs went to. I kind of after Limwood, I kind of dropped to it. I got a bad injury.
That's right.
Didn't get picked, and then I got a bad injury at Limwood. Turned my knee in, and then I missed. We actually skipped a year at Limwood. We were supposed to go to under-19s, and they never get off the ground. I don't think they put the papers in time to get them up and running.
Right.
But the boys were all wanting to go out and drink at the weekend and go to the pubs and stuff.
It's a hard age.
Aye, try to stay focused on the football. So I missed probably about a year and a half, 2 years maybe. And then you get the bug for wanting to get back into it. So I joined first amateur team as Elderslie Amateurs. I think it was maybe 21. Played with them for a good bit, captained them for a good bit. Some good players in that team and all.
That was a good side back then. I remember playing against a few times, and you'd like Gav Cahoon and all that, and Donny, and it was a good side, eh?
Aye, solid team. The only thing that they didn't have going for them is consistency. With the same boys showing up every week, we would have romped a good few competitions that we were in, because on paper, when you put all the boys down that were in that squad, we should have been running away with a lot of competitions that we were in. But it was just getting them out at the pub at the weekends and just to focus on playing football. It was kind of the most infuriating thing about that team.
Yeah.
Having to scrape together players and that on a Saturday when you knew the quality was there. It was just getting them all together at one time.
Do you think they lacked a bit of structure, Johnny, off the pitch like we've got with McGee?
Definitely, mate. Just obviously having ahead of a club like ours, but the actual team itself could have been doing with a lot more committee men and coaches. It was all relying on the kind of one or two that were there, and it was obviously hard for them to keep it going. But eventually, you're playing in a league that was very competitive. It was they're in the Foster Central, and try to go to that first division. We came second 2 years in a row. Played in a playoff and just couldn't get into that Premier League, and finished third one of the last seasons I was in it. And it was just, you were getting that bit closer, and it was just ended up stagnating, and you're just like, right, I don't think we're ever getting here. And kind of everybody started geeing up the ghost, moving elsewhere, and the team kind of fell apart.
It's a tough league. It swallows teams and spits them back out that Central. There's no doubt about it. And they've got top 4 or 5, but apart from that, it's dog eat dog in it.
I mean, lost a lot of good players to like junior teams and stuff like that around about us as well. So that's hard when your best players are constantly moving on. But we seem to always be quite competitive. But we're just getting that trophy in the cabinet, didn't quite. And then I take over for Gav as a captain as well. So I had that wee bit extra responsibility once he left to kind of help push the team on a bit.
Good. So obviously after Elderslie was Thorn, I'm guessing, is that right? How did that come about? And
I done my knee in again at Elderslie.
Chocolate boy, Johnny.
Chocolate, aye. Need a chocolate. I've always said, like, run through a brick wall for anybody, but it got to the point where the brick wall started winning, Dick.
I know. Listen, Johnny, I played against you and I played with you and at times, and I know that you would have gave in, so it must have been a big thing for you to chuck it pretty much when to admit you were defeated, because I've never seen you lying down unless you were really, really injured. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. No, I had a wee gap where I went back to playing amateur with Limwood as well.
That's right.
But they were playing like in the local P&D league and stuff like that, and it was, when you play in half decent leagues and then you drop back down, as much as you're playing with your pals, it's a bit soul destroying when the standards no there and the refereeing's no there. And it was good, obviously, meeting back up with all the boys that are still pals and that, but it got to a stage where I'm like, right, want to get my teeth kind of about it properly. And then missing through injury all the time. I went and got my knee done when they told me to, and it was just my own stupidity that I didn't. And just kind of played on, tore my IT band. My knee was just constantly swelling up. I fractured my kneecap in one of the challenges as well. It was just a heel. So it was just wear and tear. See, with the same thing happening all the time. But I came back, and it was Jason was saying to me, "How do you know come down and start training with the form?" And just one pre-season, I felt my fitness. It was Archie at the time. Archie Halley was the manager when I first. And the team were actually just that season before when I joined that pre-season. They were a goal away from getting relegated out of the Scottish Amateur Premier League.
That's right. I think they beat Oban, didn't they, in the last game of the season? But they just
I think Oban had to beat them 2-0 to relegate them, and I think it finished 1-0 or 2-1, or they had to lose with 2 goals or something. Right. And I was down watching, and then you could tell there was a bit of transition because like Archie had left, and then new boys were coming in, and Jason says you want to come down. Originally it was to get my fitness back and try and build up, and then I just started enjoying it. It was all boys that I kind of knew locally enough, like drinking in the pub and stuff like that. So got to a stage where I actually got my fitness up to a kind of decent level again and felt my leg getting a bit stronger. So I was just like, I might as well just sign, see how it goes.
So what was the main differences when you went to the Thorn? Did you notice a difference straight away?
Definitely. Just the structure, just the size as well. Like, there was this old thing, like, years ago, that everybody used to look at the amateur team and just, they used to always say there's a clique, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know how you can have a clique when the team is constantly transitioning. It always changed players. They were at a level where if you weren't cutting it, basically. You wouldn't be sitting there as Deed Wood for too long.
No.
So I don't know. They had it. What people probably thought was a clique was because they had a good spine of Johnston players. And it was kind of seen as that, but it was probably a lot of it was jealousy because boys couldn't get into the team. So I joined that, and at that time we were kind of rebuilding. There was still a good crop of the Johnston ones were still playing. Your Stuart Robertsons and that, great players.
Yeah.
Youngie was obviously still there, but with a good team, and again went on, had a couple of good every year. Feel like I joined. Didn't say it was coincidentally right enough, but started kind of building my way back up that Premier League, and then obviously challenging and then winning it with an asterisk against it.
Well, we've mentioned that in previous.
I don't want to.
No, Johnny, I want your opinion on it, mate, because I like to hear it. Because I feel as if the last 3 or 4 years of kind of drove you on to that has drove you on the last 3 or 4 years. So I want to get to that. So how did you feel when
it was any team? You can say, like, obviously moving, and obviously Cali's a different challenge moving into the Cali League, but that drove us on to the boys that were in that team, that when we didn't get that medal or that trophy handed to us, to me, I always say at the end of the season, that's just a bit of metal, really. To me, we won the league fair and square. There's absolutely no doubt how we won the league, how it all came about, how teams didn't manage for full fixtures, get awarded points. One thing they didn't mention was, I know Youngie mentioned that St Joe's didn't fulfil a fixture because it was meant to be on a certain night, but what Youngie didn't mention is it was Finnart's home game, so I don't know how St Joe's can dictate what night they play when it's the other team's home game.
Listen, I know how they can dictate, Johnny, because it's somebody on the body committee, but anyway.
Exactly. It was like one of the ones that didn't play a game. We won down at St Joe's, down in Duntoker. Youngie scored a corner kick, actually. I think it was maybe 3-1 or 3-0, I can't mind. And we thought that day, right, game's a bogey, we've run away with it. They were still in the Scottish, they did a good run in the Scottish, I think, at the West. So we were a good few games ahead of them, and I think they had to win about 8 games by the end of the season after we won a couple of games after that. And there's no way they're going to do it. They need to drop points somewhere. And by hook or by crook, they were picking up 1-0s, 2-1s, and now they were kind of eating away at us. But still our goal difference was still a lot better than theirs and all. So we were still quite confident. And then how things panned out behind closed doors was ridiculous.
People might think we're sounding bitter here, mate, but it's probably the best thing that ever happened to Thorn, because it really pushed us on and brought us all closer together. And then look at us now and look at St Joe's, and it's night and day, isn't it?
Aye, that's it.
And that's what it's all about.
That drive us on, because the couple of seasons after that, we'd obviously Scott Graham was the manager, and then JD was the manager when we should have won the title. We still celebrated our presentation night like winners, just partying away. And then the seasons after that, we obviously made the decision to leave the league, and then we kicked on. We knew we were on a good thing. We had a good crop of good players, young players. Transmissioned a few boys from out with the area. We were starting to pick up players that weren't local. They were starting to come to us because of the style of football we played and the sort of team we were. So, no, we were on to bigger and better things after that league.
Aye, that's it, and that's exactly what it is. It's all about getting better, and it's good that St Joe's have joined the Cali League now. So hopefully,
that'll be good.
Hopefully he's getting.
I'm interested to see the cup draws. Hopefully cross paths with them soon.
Good, and as I say, it's always a bit, you like your rivalries and that, and you don't mind fighting things on the pitch, but when things are given out in boardrooms, it's our committee meeting, it's a bit harsh. So all credit to you guys to keep going. So you mentioned that he's moved to the Caledonian League, and probably by your own admission, you're kind of coming to the end a wee bit. Your knees are kind of hanging together with the string that they're made with. Did you have it in the back of your head that you were going to move into coaching or management, Johnny? Was that always your plan?
I always kind of wanted to be involved. For somebody that was always injured at the later stage, I never really missed training. I was always there. I was always willing to help the boys out, whether it was after the park or during training, just to make up numbers and stuff like that. But I always knew I was going to be there and thereabouts to help out. Like, I could see the structure that the club had with Mark, and they needed people. Like, you never want enough helpers at clubs like that. So if I could help and lend a hand, I was happy to do so. Jiddy had already said to me, listen, I was on the bench probably the second season under Jiddy a lot more than what I was on the park. And I was just kind of coming on to see games out and
or cement somebody.
I didn't want to put it that way, but half the time they were cementing me, Derrick. That's the way it ended up. But it wasn't even just my name, my ankle and everything started flaring up. I was just throwing myself into challenges just for the sake of it, I think. But it gets to the stage where obviously I had the wee man, he's now 4. So that was 4 years ago. Sundays I was waking up and you could hardly walk and stuff like that. So it was getting no use sort of thing, waking up with swollen legs all the time. But Guy did say to me, listen, do you want to come on and be like my assistant? You're there every Saturday anyway, just to make the transition into helping out. So
the big jacket as they call it.
The big mate, that's probably the best signing I've made, getting that jacket off me.
So I remember the first kind of time you took the team was up at Dundee in the Scottish Cup, if you remember correctly. And
that's right, St James.
I was there to kind of help a bit, and I remember after the game, and it was 3 each. We snatched a draw in the last second, if you remember. We were 3-2 up, and we nearly made our arse set, but we come back anyway. So I remember speaking to McGee after. He was away, I think. I don't know if he heard the team talk. I can't remember why McGee didn't hear it, but I think after hearing you that day and speaking to them after the game, I kind of phoned McGee and I said to him, you'll need to make sure that he's the next manager. You were very impressive and the boys listened to you, and that's half the battle in amateur football, you know, agree?
Aye, definitely. It can be hard because you've played besides a lot of them, but what they do have is respect for the way I played as well. So they knew that I was hard working as a player, so I was going to do the exact same after the part and give you 100% after the part. So at the end of the day, show up on a Saturday. It's good to be with your pals, but when you're playing with the form, you're showing up on a Saturday to win 3 points or get yourself through in a cup tie. That's the name of the game. Your Saturday only starts at tea time for me, when you want to actually enjoy yourself. But no, that's right. I actually forgot that. St James up in Dundee. But we're actually cruising in that game at one point.
Yeah.
And
they bought a guy
just,
off the bench and he was like bloody Ronaldo. I can't remember
he
the guy
came up
into it.
with a couple, and then we got I think we cross-scored the equaliser, actually, and then... But that was good, because I'd kind of stepped in for JD. JD was getting more involved with his work.
Mm-hmm.
So he was getting busier and busier, obviously, coming up to the winter period and stuff like that. So I'd stepped in a couple of times, and I think we'd actually had a no bad, decent winning record as well. So, no, I could see with that, like, I was getting the boys' respect, so that was half the battle.
That is half the battle, definitely. And if you're willing, as you say, you'll not ask them to do anything that you wouldn't do on a pitch, and that
No, listen, see, even training drills and stuff like that, they know for a fact the training drills I'm putting out, I wouldn't have not back doing it myself. So they know for a fact if when I was fit, I was running the 6 across the parks and up and down hills. So a lot of them have been there shoulder to shoulder with me, so they can't complain.
Yeah, that's it. That's actually you've got to make sure you lead by example, and you certainly did that as a player, as captain, and now as manager. So obviously you moved into management and took the reins off JD after he left for family stroke work reasons, but you'd success pretty quickly. Title winning season, of course, double winning season. Sorry, Johnny. What was the ingredients that went into that? What made it special? What made that team special? How did you get the best out of them? And ultimately, how did it feel winning the league that season?
It was actually JD had missed a few games, but I'm actually leaving did come as a bit of a shock, because we always thought he'd be there and thereabouts. He'd built the structures of that team, and the boys all got on and stuff like that. So it was a shock to all of them. So actually keeping the players together was probably the hardest part of it, because a lot of them seen JD as the leader. But when actually JD left, we'd actually lost the first game of the season. 3-1 at home to Giffnock. I think we only had one shot on goal. Youngie had scored it. But we'd lost our first league game, but we won a midweeker. So it was 1-1, lost one, and then the first round of the Scottish, we went out in a replay. So I was taking the team already out the Scottish. And
was that Steadfast, Johnny? Not what they called?
Oh, the Scottish was Cambria.
That's right, sorry, that's right.
Cambria, we drew actors, and then they taken us up to Steps, and to be fair, the boys scored a world to knock us out.
That's right.
And it was actually between the replay, JD said to us, listen, I'm stepping down. But he did say, he's like, I'm not going to step down when we've still got this replay up our sleeve. We'll try and get us through the Scottish, and then I'll say to them after it. But he stuck to his guns and stepped down, but I knew it was coming anyway. So keeping the players kind of focused on the job in hand, which was same as what it was at the start of the season, was to go and win the league. That was one main priority.
Mm-hmm. So what did you add in? JD obviously he built the bones of that team, and JD, it was a transition period. You said he really got a good team on that part, but just really fell short. What was the main differences between him, his winning team?
It sounded better every season. We're that close, we're dead close with that. If only we'd bet that, or if only we'd done this. Mm-hmm. It was just the same thing was happening the past couple of seasons. We're just that wee bit, just to bridge that gap to actually getting us over the line. It was more probably, I would say, actually see the season before, where I was probably sitting at the park, the side of the park a lot more. I was able to analyse a lot of the teams we were playing it against, no playing. So probably watched a lot more of the games, so I could see what was coming. Tactically wise with teams, so we were able to plan differently. I'm a believer in boys that train hard and are there. They deserve their shot, because we don't carry any deadwood. Like, everybody's there fighting for places, but there's also a sense of horses for courses. Certain games need certain players. Mm-hmm. So if we won 10-0 the week before, we weren't fear to actually change it the following week, shape or personnel.
For example, if you're playing Dumbarton away, you're wheeling out Youngie and Ross Perry in the middle of the pitch, sort of thing.
A prime example, mate. I would say when you went down to a tight grass park like that, you put in your experience to a bit of height, because you know what's coming at you. Mm-hmm. And we actually changed, just for instance, Dumbarton the first time we went down there. when I was manager, we actually changed the shape, and we'd worked on it on the Wednesday night at Seat Hill. We knew they had kind of big long diagonals and played off the big front men, but what we worked on was keeping. We were playing a back three at the time with high wingers, so we actually decided to go with 2 fullbacks as the wingers and play like a kind of what it looked like was a back five and kind of tried to draw them out. But we'd basically 5 defenders, so when they were hitting the diagonals, I think maybe at the right hand side would have been Bud at the time, so they always hit there. But whereas Bud's basically like a centre half, he's able to attack it there. We drew them out a wee bit more in security, and we'd speed up top to actually hit them the counter, and it worked to a T. So just small things like that, but the boys could see. I remember being in the changing room, and you could see it in the boys that they knew that all came for the Wednesday night, what we'd put together and how we'd planned. So I think that kind of got a lot of them on board, and a lot of them could see the vision of what we need to do, like how important training is during the week.
Well, that's something you really instilled in them then. I'm a massive advocate of that. I think if you train crap, you play crap. It really is that simple. And if you're flat on a Wednesday, you're going to be flat on a Saturday. It just carries infectious. So it's important to keep the boys on their toes. How do you do that, Johnny? What's your training like?
Well, Elsa puts a lot of the coaching drills together. He's probably one of the best coaches you could ask for on about here. It's all ball work, but it's high intensity, high pace. The boys are all fit enough. We're at a stage where most boys are all going to the gym, keeping themselves well looked after and stuff like that. It's different for years ago, where you'd be showing up and getting pounded up and down the Rannoch Hill and things like that. But now it's all ball related and possession based, and then when you do lose the ball, how quickly you're going to go and get it back and try and win in the ball in high areas and how to punish teams. So Elsa's a man for that. Like, what we do is we kind of bounce off one another between myself, Elsa, Youngie, Hender and Dom now's on the coaching staff. Right. If we identify something that needs addressed for the Saturday before, we don't like to dwell on. We don't generally need to dwell on a lot of stuff, but if there is something that catches our eye that we need to address, we'll address it. But generally, our Wednesday drills are all aimed at the game ahead. We don't like to look back on things that we've done wrong, just focus on what we've done well and know that we are a cracking outfit, and if we play well, we will win most of the time. And not many teams, when we're on our game, can actually keep up with us. And that's the thing you want to instill in them. But we had that bad kind of mentality a couple of years I was playing, where you'd go out and beat the team at the top of the table, and then you'd get yourself a lousy draw away from somebody that's doing the bottom end. The mentality wasn't there. You felt like if a team scored against us, they were going to score again. And we just felt like we're quite open at the back end. We're quite expansive up top, but we could easily get sucker punched all the time. But we set pieces our own counter-attacks.
Do you think adding key personnel and key positions has helped with that? And I'm thinking about Big Martin coming in and instilling that sort of winning mentality in you.
Listen, definitely, but we won the double and we're player of the year and my players player were our 2 centre halves.
With the Pato?
Our back three. So Pato and Marty, I mean, 2 new players that come in that season. It's all well and good playing a lot of good football, but you need to do the right things at the back end. And I mean, they had a cracking goalkeeper behind them and Liam as well. But the main part of the game, like you've got to know how to keep the goals out as well as put them in their side.
So you've obviously mentioned that we know you've won the league and the cup. How did you clinch it? What was the game you won the league, and how did you feel?
We could have won the league against them, Barton. The way it worked out down at McMaster's, they were coming. If they won, it would have maybe shook it up a wee bit. I think we were a couple of points clear. But if we won with a couple of games left, it would have been games of bogey. But we got a draw against them, so it kept it going. So we needed to win up at Wishaw. Right. So Wishaw was the game that actually clinched it. It was quite cagey. We started off really, really well, right enough, up at Clyde Valley High School. And the boys were playing really well. It was actually probably the best start we had, considering there was a wee bit of apprehension, a wee bit of nerves. get us over the line. They started really well. I think Sean Kellan scored a good goal. Aye, Sean scored the first, and then as it stayed 1-0 a wee bit longer, the kind of nerves started creeping in, and they got a goal, and it was a bit cagey for a wee bit. But we get a free kick that tried to cross, and the goalie's made an absolute mess of it, and the boys ended up nestled in the top corner. He put us in the lead, and then there was a few cagey moments near the end of the game. They had a cross that came in that went over Liam, but was adjudged that they had a wee push at the back post, which was a bit dodgy looking. But no, we got over the line. Listen, over the course of it, we're definitely the best team in the league. Look, we went and beat every team run about us. Went down to Dumbarton, not just in the league but in the cup as well. Your Giffnocks, teams like that, we seem to show up on the big games when we needed to get the 3 points. The boys got us on the line. So Wishaw was the one that clinched it for us up there.
Aye, so how did you feel? What was the celebrations like after that, Johnny?
It was good. We went back to, they invite you back for hospitality and stuff like that. So we're up there. I was driving, so I was choking to dump the motor.
That was a schoolboy mistake.
We're up there. I actually had a party to go to that night. It was my partner Alison's mum and dad's joint 60th.
Oh.
Surprise. But I get back and my dad met me so I could dump the car. I went up to Glasgow and I was constantly, they could tell I was on the phone constantly. I was seeing what all the boys were doing, where they were. And then she just said to me, "You want to go back to Johnstone?"
You're my sight, aye. You're doing my head in.
Aye, I was kind of sitting, biting my fingernails, and she could tell I needed to get back with the boys. So I got back to walk in the front doors at the Fawn, and aye, what a party it was.
Aye, mate, you'll not forget that in a hurry. You'll not forget that in a hurry.
No, it was good because I don't think the boys expected me to come back. So actually getting back and drinking out that cup was a good feeling.
Yes, mate, you can't beat it. We say that fit was participation, and to a certain extent it is, but you can't beat winning any trophies. It's the best feeling you'll ever get.
It makes up for all the hard nights that you're out there in the golden route, mate. That's what you think about day nights when you're out there. Seed Hills are out at Masters for day nights at the end of the season where you can celebrate together.
When the rain's coming at you sideways and the wind's howling, and that's when I always say to my boys, and we never put our sessions off, and we always say, look, when it's peeing down, this is where champions are made. We have a wee joke about it, but it's not far from the truth.
It's no, and I would say the season that we won the league was probably our best for training. I don't think, apart from one session, I think it was in the snow where it got called off, we put on a session every single week, whether it was getting the boys back into the hall, getting a PT with Kevin Maguire doing it at boxing. We mixed it up. Our one session on Monday get mixed up every week, whether it was going out to Onyx for a wee game of sevens.
Yeah.
Like say the PT session in the McMasters or else Seed Hill, and then our Wednesday night was our tactical night where we get our good couple of hours actually putting a plan together for the Saturday. Good.
So as I say, it's you need to keep the boys on their toes, and variation of training is definitely key. And if it's the old Kevin McIntyre making them sick, bunching a bag, or it's 5-a-sides or whatever, you definitely need to keep on top of them by varying the training.
See, just things like that, mate. I think their core fitness as well actually went through the roof. You could tell in some games, the latter stages of games, that we ran all the top of teams, and it's all to do with doing these sort of sessions. It's all well and good having the ability with the ball at your feet, but to keep running for that 95 minutes, some of the games, their fitness kicked in a lot. Considering we don't do a lot of running, sessions do help.
Aye, boys need to know that training's not the be-all and end-all. They always have to do stuff away, and you are quite lucky. You've got guys like Conor McGregor and Boyton Martin and a few others that are really pride themselves on their fitness. And
what we tell the boys is we're not here as coaches to make you fit. We're here to make you better football players. Yeah. General fitness is for you after yourself. You're speaking away, try to hit a wee road run or whatever you can do, or do a wee session in the gym as much as you possibly can, because we're here to actually make the squad and the unit better. And that's basically what all our training's about. That's what Ailsa puts on, how to be that wee bit better on the ball, how to be that wee bit quicker on the ball, just visually how to open up games and how to take teams apart. That's what your training's all about. It shouldn't be about running to try to see you're going to be quicker than the man on the Saturday. It's not about that, because the ball moves quicker than anyone is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about getting them to use their brain, and training's part of that. As you say, there's nothing worse when you're doing doggies all night and you're thinking, well, how's that going to make me beat Giffnock on Saturday? Definitely. So in terms of last season, Johnny got cut short. How did you feel that was handled? Were you gutted because you were in a great run?
We were sitting second at the end of the day. Dumbarton were still top of the league, but for a team in second place, you ask any one of the boys in that squad, they didn't want that season to end.
Yeah.
Which you would have looked at the league, oh, you're sitting second, you might have got away with one. I wouldn't have said so, because we were actually going like a train, to be fair. We lost with Scottish tie the first game after the new year, and for that, I think it was the second week in January, we won every game before lockdown without conceding a goal. We were just turning our teams. We didn't even look threatened at all at the back. We just looked very secure. We changed our shape. Again, we went back to a 4 at the back. We moved Big Joe Ray into midfield, just in the defenders, and gave them that wee bit more security. Played with higher wingers. The boys just looked that they had the bit between the teeth, and I've got no doubt in my mind that we were going to catch them.
Johnny, I would have put my house on you winning that league. Momentum's key in football, I've mentioned a few times, and there was just something about you. There was something clicked.
We'd already got a lot of hard away fixtures out the road as well. So when you actually look at some of the fixtures we had, we were going to places like Dumbarton where we had good records. So there was places where we were confident of going and picking up results, where there was other teams that still had a fair say in it. But you can't have any qualms about the league being called. Our league actually called it first out of, I think it was all the amateur leagues. They were actually quite quick at nailing it out and putting a decision together. There was still teams in that league that, if you'd actually tallied up all the games, there was only about half the games that had actually been played. So it's not just about Dumbarton. There were so many other teams in that league that had a part to play in how results would have went. So you couldn't have turned around. It's all right, well and good leagues when you're a couple of games left to make the decisions when there's money involved, but there's still with half the league games. We had a cup there sitting that we hadn't even opened up the first round yet to play, to defend. So I don't know how they were planning and fitting all that in.
Well, I don't think they could, mate. I think now we know now in terms that it's July and we're still not kicking a ball in anger. I think it was the only decision, and it was a bit hard to take at the time for the kind of all the teams in the Thorn who were all kind of doing well. But I think now, obviously, 5 months later or whatever it is, then you can see why they've done it. What in terms of that brings us up to now, Johnny? Are you back training? How difficult has it been? And I take it's just took you an extra few hours planning, etc. for sessions this week. Sorry.
It has, mate. The coaches could tell you it's training like this. This is probably now, I think we're 5 sessions in. We've just been doing a Saturday session, Saturday morning, getting the boys loose. But the preparation that goes into planning these sessions, we've obviously got 5 coaches there that we can split the boys up into small individual groups.
Groups are 2 to start with, John, isn't it?
Oh, the planning involved is ridiculous. I think the first week that we actually got out to train, I think between ourselves and the management team and Mark, trying to plan out individual water bottles, all getting named, all the spraying equipment and setting up equipment, and what coach goes with what people, they stick with that equipment, they keep the bibs, they take the bibs home, where to park. It was just the logistics here, it was just huge. And we're lucky as a club that we've got so much space in there, because there's going to be a lot of teams that could not have put on sessions anything like that, and we were sticking within the guidelines. And to be able to have all that space, the boys, when they showed up, to be fair, were well impressed. You could see that we'd planned out stations, whether it be the top park at the Shanks, the bottom area, using the park, using the side off the park, and just splitting them up and moving them round into kind of stations and keeping everything all well sanitised and everybody well apart. it was difficult, but the boys stuck to it and they done really well. And it's no, I've heard a lot of boys that went away and they've been training with other teams and stuff like that, saying, "Fuck, it's just stagnated. We're just running and there's no much you can do with it." But we were able to do drills where they're still having a wee bit of interaction, a wee bit of banter, and we try to keep the groups the same for the few weeks that we've been doing it. So it's been hard, more like when we're introducing new boys, because the new boys aren't getting the full banter of mixing.
Changing rooms, etc. That's a big part.
In the changing room, we're not having a bit of banter with the full squad, or whether it be 20s that are doing there. So they're kind of sticking to the groups that they are. So like the boys that maybe introduced them are keeping them with the boys that they've been training with, out running with, or whatever, and stuff like that. But it's been hard that side of it, and also we're getting boys down that we want to have a look at playing football, and we don't really know until we actually kick a ball. It's all right having them running in and out of cones and doing dribbles and stuff like that, but to see them actually in a shape and how they actually look in an actual game will be complete. So, but no, the boys have been enjoying it, and I mean we've been enjoying it as well. So we're hoping, obviously, in the next month or so we can start picking it up and maybe getting to 2 sessions a week. We just thought one a week now is plenty, because we didn't want to bombard them with training when there was nothing in the horizon.
No, listen, the good thing about being back is boys were struggling. I've no name any names and stuff like that, but you see boys on Twitter and you know they're struggling, so to have that lifeline every Saturday is good for people, you know, and even if it is, you know, groups of 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever these guys are doing, it's getting to see people and getting to interact and get to kick a ball. I think all off the press today is the 24th of August, we'll be allowed to play friendlies, which is only 3 weeks away, I think, if I can count. It's only 3 weeks away, so fingers crossed the SFA put out something soon and we can get that navy blue black on and start kicking some balls into nets again.
That's it. We want to get to the stage where we hit that date and pre-season is basically just going to be games, because we've done enough. We'll have done a good few sessions by the time we get to that date, so we want to give the boys something to look forward to and get a couple of no be like the kind of pre-season we're normally used to, going away days and stuff like that. It'll probably be more local sided that we'll be putting on, but I'm sure the boys playing any sort of 11s games, they'll be looking forward to it.
So have you managed to keep the squad together, Johnny, and if you get any new guys coming in that you can tell us about?
Yeah, we kept a core of 15 for last year. Lost a couple, mainly Liam, which obviously is the goalkeeper. So that is obviously a massive position that we had to get filled. But luckily enough, we've got 2 boys in and signed.
That's key then, because Liam is I keep thinking Liam played for about 20 years and he's only 30 odd, but he's a big gap to fill. And
I think he was playing with the form. He was 7, I think.
Definitely.
No, it's a massive hole in the team, mate. It's no easy to fill these sort of positions, never mind all these sort of characters that are in the changing room and all.
Johnny, can I just mention his hair back? His hair's absolutely tremendous now.
Yeah, he's changed since that here, Derrick.
Oh, he's honestly changed. He's changed his motor. He's now staying his spates then. You know, hair's flat. He's got a fringe. It's unbelievable.
That pocket now, it's not even funny.
Nah, it's unbelievable. It's actually like I went to see him and Nicola and the baby the other day, mate, and he's actually flicking it at me. You know what I mean?
He's shown off.
Sorry, I had to get.
I've went the other way now. Now you're in management, you feel as if the hairline's going a wee bit further back.
I bet you Liam's cost some of your hairline as well.
Aye, definitely. Listen, the changing rooms are a lot quieter without him, so it is. So, I mean, I'm sure, like, obviously, young in that saying there's a lot of stories and stuff like that, and a lot of banter that goes on that stays within the changing room was, but he'll be missed as a player and as a pal.
Johnny, I've tried to keep it normal with you. We could go there with changing room stories, but you know you're the manager now, Johnny, and I don't want to give you a wee chap at your door tomorrow and get you the sack. So
I don't mind. I don't mind throwing every one of them under the bus stick. Fire away.
Listen, I bet you could all day, and you need about 3 hours this podcast. But I'm working in the morning, Johnny. But maybe
I've got a couple of beers in the fridge. I might open them up and just get going.
Listen, I'm wanting to get one down the cabin. We have few players. We'll keep that for that. Now, one of the main guys you've kept is Mickey Wilson.
Yep.
He was coming on leaps and bounds. I know there was some West of Scotland teams interested in it. How key is he to your plans?
Aye, we knew Mickey was a cracking player when we got him in, stuff like that. He'd missed a lot of football data last season, so it was mainly getting him kind of game sharpness and stuff like that. He could tell you that himself, but we could see like in the pre-season games that we played that like the ability was there, and like, how it was just how to like fit him into the team and actually get him playing within whatever formation we were playing, because obviously we went through a couple of kind of shapes. But no, listen, him and Joe finished the season really, really well, very strong in the middle of the park. He was contributing assists and obviously just general play and possession of the ball. So it's a main thing for us, is having midfielders that can take the ball into tight areas and take the ball off of defenders and build the game. And we're lucky that we've actually got probably 6 or 7 very, very strong centre midfielders that would walk into any team in that league, to be fair. And it's just a case of how to fit them all into that's my head.
I wouldn't like
to be fair.
I wouldn't like to have that selection. I love Sean Kelly. I love Craw. And Joe's like, it's difficult, and Sean Kelly doesn't give the ball away. Mickey can open up a defence. Joe can tackle a brick wall. Craw's Craw. It must be hard, but at the end of the day, you'd rather have these players at your disposal than not.
Oh, definitely, mate, definitely. But like you say, each of them have got something different as well. So, like we have done for previous years, it'll be like horses for courses. There'll be certain players that will suit certain games, certain parks that we play on, and just whatever way we want to play. But no, listen, they're all cracking players. They wouldn't be here if they weren't there.
Well, my favourite player's Pato for obvious reasons, but I also love Horney. Every year it's always like Horney's not maybe what's Horney going to do next season, and see the last 3 seasons he's been a stalwart, and I love turning up on a Saturday and watching Horney. He's honest as the day is long.
He's as honest as the day's long on a Saturday, a Monday, a Wednesday. Right. What you get with Horney is just consistency. He's just solid, consistent, reliable. There's been times where he's been out of the team and maybe other players have come in, kind of dipped their toe with different shapes, moved them in and out, and we always seem to fall back to putting them back in that position. And whatever position he does play, he's played up the front line. He's played either side of full back. He's played at the back three. He's just Mr. Reliable. And a couple of years ago, obviously won Player of the Year, but it was well deserved. I think it was Players' Player actually he won. But he's well liked within the club. He's the vice captain. And it's players like that, obviously, that are good to have, because they're kind of lieutenants for boys like myself. I played beside Horney, so he's one that can go to and have a wee chat with. I feel like there's kind of niggles in the team or anything's kind of pestering them day, and they're the boys that will back you up to the hill, that are the ones that you can rely on when the chips are done.
There's nothing better as a manager when you look around your changing room, you've got 6 or 7 guys you can turn to. That really helps.
Aye. There's that changing room, there's to be fair. It's no good having too many captains. You need some of these mavericks that we've got in the team that are just rogues that just want to go out there, and you couldn't tell what sort of going to have, but it's the same. The defenders don't know what sort of game they're going to have or what way they're going to go. So we need to have these sort of players. It's a good mix. But obviously having these experienced heads is probably what's helped us the past couple of years as well. Kick on.
Johnny, I could honestly sit and talk to you all day about this, and I'm going to have to cut you short here and go to the questions that get into the nitty gritty. The season's you're looking strong. I've seen who you've got, and you'll be hoping to go and be successful. I will not ask your predictions because that's a bit harsh to ask a manager that, but what's your aims? That's different things, I promise you.
What's our aims?
What's your aims for the season ahead, Johnny?
Defend what we've got and to establish ourselves in the majors. We like to think that we're going to go out and win trophies every year. It's not that easy. You've got a long, hard slog ahead of you, but we've went far in the majors for the past few years. But we want to go and establish ourselves that we're a team that's in the pot that nobody wants. We want to be that name that comes out the hat that everybody's like, shit, we're not going to Johnston. No way are we going down there. Just establishing myself in the league and in the community and all. We basically won the league playing 20 games away from home when you think about it, because
You did, you're spot on, and I think you're spot on. There's
basically we were at Cabernet, we were at Seed Hill, we were at Beeve, we were at Renfrew. we played everywhere. I think we had 5 or 6 different home parks in that one season. So just establishing myself where we are, defending what we've got, and being a major player over not just this season, but making myself stable for years to come. That we're going to be in that hat, going to be in the Final Four, and be in the mix, basically.
And that's it. That's the next level, isn't it? It's so tough though. There's 8 or 9 teams that are just, and I include Thorn in that, by the way, that can win them on their day. It's just your luck, and
It's probably establishing wise, we're probably in the kind of top 10 amateur teams, but to be constantly spoke about in the kind of manner of, you look at like Bannockburns and Eastfields, and they've been doing it for 5 or 6 years now. We want to be 3 or 4 years down the line saying that we've got a couple of majors under our, couple of finals under our belts, and we're a club that everybody wants to come and play for, and a team that folk don't want to play against.
That's what all you want. You want them coming off their cars and at McMaster Centre, kind of already worried and already 1-0 down. That's the dream, innit?
Aye, it's the way it should be, mate. Because running about the community, as much as we played all the games away from home, our touchline was amazing. The amount of people that come out and watch us on a Saturday is just unreal. Even going to the cup final, the amount of buses we take, I think we had the highest gate at Cumbernauld, at Clyde, the last he said.
That was a great night. That was a great day. Aye.
I mean, the amount of people that support us and actually back us, and obviously it works both ways. We're helping a lot in the community and stuff like that as well. But it's great to give people that, especially after this is all undone with. People want somewhere to go on a Saturday, to go out the house, to go and walk their dog, to go out and go for a pint of a beer after a game of football, and hopefully we can provide that.
Aye, that's it. It's exciting times, mate. He's doing well, and I've just realised that I'll be releasing the podcast at McMaster's before yours, Johnny. So we've just had the news that Thorn Athletics took over McMaster Sports Centre. It's now called Thorn Athletics Sports Academy. There's a fence going round. There's a perimeter fence. It's going to be ours now. How key is that to the success of the football team?
For the whole club, mate, aye. It's a home. It's kind of safeguards us hopefully for a while. It'll be good for us. Like, the amount of outgoings that we had just to the amateur side, hiring all these amateur parts, and the outlays is ridiculous. The amount of money when you think, and it's no easy running a football team, as you well know, and the amount of money that's involved between getting your equipment and stuff like that as well. You're chasing your tail. That's how a lot of teams have sadly kind of not been able to re-establish themselves over the past couple of seasons. But aye, definitely having somewhere to go every second Saturday to watch your local Johnston team it'll be great. So it will, and something that we can all be proud of.
So I was kind of working out the other day when me and McGee have been discussing about the financials. My team alone are £140 a week elsewhere that goes to Renfrewshire Leisure or Beath Trust. Now, that's one team out of 13, Johnny, you know what I mean? So there's definitely massive potential financially that we can grow that place down there and just make we're producing players that are excellent now. We need to give them the facilities, and we already have excellent players in the adult team who could have went to Western Scotland teams, and they've not, they've stayed, and we need to back them now, and what you've showed us a bit of loyalty. We're going to give you the platform to go and get better at football.
It's that wee bit as well, that it's a place where folk will drive down to when you're trying to get boys over the line to sign and stuff like that, and you're trying to attract that sort of player that are going, whether they're going to a West team or whether they're dropping down. We've got facilities there that most teams that are in that West, or the bottom end of the West, haven't got.
No. So
being able to provide that sort of platform, and a platform of playing for a good, successful team where you're winning medals, and that's what a lot of boys want.
It's not a hard sell, is it? Really, you've got everything going for us down
We
there.
don't really, mate. See, to be honest, like, it was good we kept this. That was the main priority this year, was keeping the spine of the boys that we had, because you keep them together for so long. They know how each other works, and we know how we work as a team, and that's what's going to bring success. But bringing in the extra few bodies, it's not been that hard to sell, because boys now in the surrounding areas know what we're all about. So it's just a case of trying to pinpoint positions that we need to fill and personnel that we would like to get into the club. And luckily enough, like, we've not been scouring too far with the casting net, that we're out there every week trying to find players. We seem to have a good core that we've got now. We've added a few fresh faces, so we're actually doing no bad. If the season was to start next week, I wouldn't complain.
So that's like, you're happy with what you've got, and close the doors, and let's focus on trying to get that league title back to McMaster's next season, definitely. Johnny, that's it. I mean, I could honestly, I could speak to you all day about football. We've known each other since we could walk. Bang goals in up at Spates Park, double cup in that. But as I say,
it was 4-year winners in the trot, was it not, Derrick?
Oh, mate, untouchable. I think you were about 3 as well. But it's good to see how it's all come back around, mate. We're now at Johnston's Premier Football Club trying to win trophies, which is great. So that's the main crux of the questions, Johnny. Now I need to get your thinking cap on for a few things. So, what was your favourite? We'll go for 2 favourite games. One as a player, one as a manager with the Fawn.
Favourite as a player?
If I threw you there, Johnny, do you want to do 2 managers?
No, I'll do one as a player. I like going to Lark Hall.
Oh, loved it up there, loved it.
Sort of game that I love playing in, because you knew you were going to end up in a ruck. But there was the season where we were in the first division, we actually came out at nearly, apart from the last game, we were nearly invincible the full first year. It was our second year in the first division. But Lark Hall away, I remember going up there, it was with a League Cup tie up there, and I think we lost. Boys seemed a bit intimidated and stuff like that, and then we went there in one of the league games and we won. John Hayes scored an absolute peach.
That's right.
I remember. And games like that, Oban as well, I can't no say Oban. Getting up there as a player was always good, because not just obviously the bus trip, but it always seemed to be a right good fiery affair. That it was games like that I used to love getting my teeth stuck into.
Aye, that was your bag, wasn't it? Tackles and snotters.
Aye, blood and snot. Hopefully no. As a manager, Giffnot away last year.
Oh, was that the last minute winner?
We Dylan scored last minute, and I'm pretty sure you were involved in the pile-up that nearly killed him.
Mate, I swear to God, he was like a pancake after that. Apologies.
It was one of the games. I'm sure the ref came out of our touchline, nearly spoke to us about 20 times in the one game. It was just one of the 5 affairs that was just a right good amateur game of football. To and fro, they scored a peachy free kick, then Big Marty scored the equaliser, I think, and then it was like the last seconds of the game, we won a corner, and it was their boy, he did it back into his own 6-yard box. He did the wrong way, and there's wee Dylan to knock out of the line, and became pretty famous for that goal and that pile-up that nearly killed me. It was actually blue in the changing room after the game. But I'd say that, I'd say the cup final but as well, because just turning round and seeing my family and the amount of people for Johnston that were in that crowd was just, even the noise the young man's made, they actually put an atmosphere in that stadium that probably hadn't been there for the full season that Clyde had played in it.
I've seen before. We had a good couple of buses for Johnny, for the youth teams. It was good.
Oh, it was brilliant, mate. And the amount of people that came through in motors and stuff like that as well. It was a Friday night. Folk had finished their work, and it was one of the games. I'd played in the cup final there against Dumbarton, and we lost. And we went through there on the bus for the Fawn. We left. It was just one of the ones as manager. I was just like, I'm not walking out of there without winning that. There's absolutely no chance that we're leaving Cumbernauld again without a winners' medal. And it was a game that finished 1-0, but I felt dead comfortable, which is surprising for a cup final. I didn't feel like, as much as it was the kind of the boys behind us were building up an atmosphere and stuff like that, it felt very comfortable. Apart from, obviously, your last 5 minutes, they're launching the ball up the park and stuff like that, but our defenders and the boys in front of them, we just looked like taking it on my stride, and it made, after winning that, I think it sunk in with the boys and with myself that we can win silverware. That was the kind of the taster for them. So I'd say that as a manager. Obviously, everybody will think I was got to say winning the league, but I'd say winning the cup is probably the one that got us the taste for it, and it was just good to have that amount of folk behind us.
That winning's a habit, mate. If you get it early, then it's hard to give up that. You find that hard, sorry, you find that extra yard.
I think you mentioned it in one of your other podcasts. There's nothing wrong with being greedy.
No.
See, when you've got up a boys, that's when we're trying to keep the boys together. Like in the off season, you're trying to say to them, like, we've just done that this year. Like, what can we do together with a crop that we've got? A good bunch of boys. We're like socialising together and winning together. You drink together, you win together, and it's nothing wrong with being greedy. I say to wee Crow all the time, like, you should be now thinking, you should have half a dozen winners' medals under your belt with this club as a captain. Like, go and be greedy, and your arms should be hurting by the time you walk out the door at the form. And it's things like that, but obviously try to develop the players like Cross away playing for Scotland and stuff like that. It's going to be a draw for the rest of the boys in the squad to say, I don't have any mind a wee jolly following him, because it does look like a bit of a jolly right enough.
Cross find a jolly on an empty house, mate.
Aye, and surprised they actually invited them back to that Scotland training, to be fair, because that looked like a stag do they were on when they went away to Europe.
As I say, it's Croc can make an evening in with me and Hender a stag do, so I'm no surprised. Some boy. It's not a night, it ends up a weekend, but I'll stop that there before I get chucked out. Also, the last question I'm going to ask you, Johnny, before I let you go on with your evening, is it's maybe no fair to ask a manager this about your current squad. So, one player that you could take into battle with you from your playing days, Johnny. So, if you're playing to win a league, who do you want beside you? It doesn't have to be form. I mean, it'll be controversial when people fall out with you, but it doesn't have to be form.
No, I would say Big Donny.
Aye, shout, yep.
I would say Big Donny. On his game, Big Donny was outstanding. I could easily tell you, up against some of the best centre forwards you could play against at junior and stuff like that, they wouldn't get a sniff with Big Donny on his game. Absolutely not. Gav as well to an extent. I've played with Gav, but I'll go for Big Donny because I played with him. Definitely. There's a few obviously that I played with at the 4-0, but there was that many of them. Like, Donny stood out because he was probably the best player in a bad team, and a couple of different teams that we played with. Youngie would stick out and all. Youngie would just run through a brick wall and can play in several positions and always cropped up a worldie when you needed it. So, but there's a horn for me I could go through, but that would be my top three: Youngie, Donny, and Big Gav.
See, when you think about it, I was at the Thorn helping for one season, and we had a centre half in defence with Gaz Wilson and Donny Morrison, and Liam McWilliams in goals. You forget how lucky you were. You know what I mean?
Aye, great team. Even when we had Gaz, Donny, and Michael McKinnon, and all played in beside Donny for a wee bit.
He was tremendous.
Michael and Donny get called up to the select squad and that together, and it's good players, mate. Good players.
We've actually had it quite lucky the last few years. So, John, I'll end it there, mate. You've been brilliant. I could honestly talk to you all day. I wish you every success this season, and I'm sure you'll go on and be successful. And we'll be watching closely, and we'll get a chat with you mid-season, see how things are going, mate. All right?
Good stuff.
So, Johnny, take care. Cheers again, mate.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, Derrick. See you later.